It was one of those mornings when nothing seemed to go right. The clouds hung low over the city, and the usual buzz of downtown felt heavier, slower. Rain tapped the pavement in soft rhythms, and the line at the small coffee shop on Main Street stretched past the entrance, as if every soul in town needed a warm cup to make it through the day. Among them stood Ava Sinclair, drenched, tired, and for the first time in years, unsure of herself. Just last night, she had walked away from her boardroom, one of the most powerful women in the city, after exposing corruption in her own company. She had no phone, no assistant, no chauffeur. Just a coat that clung to her frame and a purse lighter than her spirit. The world didn't know yet that the CEO of Sinclair Tech had resigned. She hadn't told a soul. She needed a break, from expectations, from pressure, from everything. She just needed a cup of coffee. As she reached the front of the line, the young barista smiled. "What'll it be?" "Medium latte." "Almond milk," Ava said, her voice softer than usual, lacking the fire it used to carry. "That'll be $4.95. She reached into her purse and pulled out her worn leather card holder. Swiped once. Declined. She tried again. Declined. The line behind her shifted uncomfortably. Someone sighed. Ava's face flushed red. I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with this." "It's all right, ma'am." "Maybe try another," the barista offered gently. She didn't have another. That card was linked to her company account. Her personal card had been cancelled ages ago when she stopped needing it. She glanced around, her throat tightening. Then a quiet voice spoke from behind. "I'll cover it." She turned around, startled. He was tall, probably mid-30s, with kind brown eyes and a gentle confidence that stood in contrast to the rush of the crowd. His jacket was old but clean, and he held a faded leather wallet in one hand. He stepped forward and handed a $5 bill to the barista. "No need to hold up the line," he smiled, as if this was nothing. Ava stood there frozen. She had paid for yachts. She had written checks with more zeros than most people saw in a lifetime. And here she was, accepting $5 from a stranger. Her pride clashed with her exhaustion. "Thank you," she whispered, looking down. "Not a problem," he said with a shrug. "Coffee's important." The barista handed her the cup, and she moved to the corner of the shop, unsure what to do next. She hadn't even said his name. She watched as he ordered a plain black coffee and stepped aside to wait. Then, on impulse, she walked up to him. "Let me repay you," she said quietly. He looked at her and chuckled. "It's $5. "No, I insist." "Please." He nodded. "All right. Maybe you can repay me by sitting down and having your coffee with me." That caught her off guard. "You don't even know me." He smiled. "Well, maybe I'd like to." And so they sat. His name was Ethan. He worked construction jobs during the week and fixed cars on the weekend. He told her about his late father, his love for rebuilding engines, and how he saved every dime to someday open his own garage. He had no idea he was sitting across from the woman once listed in Forbes. Ava didn't speak much about herself. She said she was between jobs. She smiled at his jokes, listened to his dreams, and for the first time in years, felt like someone saw her, not her title, not her money, just her. "You look like someone who's had a long few days," Ethan said as he sipped his coffee. She laughed, more bitter than amused. "You have no idea." "Want to talk about it?" "No," she whispered. "But thank you for asking." He didn't press her. When their cups were empty, they walked outside. The rain had eased, leaving the streets slick and shining. "Can I walk you somewhere?" he asked. She paused. "I'm not sure where I'm going, honestly." He studied her face, then smiled kindly. "How about a mechanic's shop? I've got an engine I'm rebuilding. It's not glamorous, but it's warm, and the radio still works." Ava hesitated. But something in her stirred. The part of her that had been buried under meetings and suits and fake smiles. She nodded. They walked together in silence, and when they reached his garage, a humble, dusty space tucked in the corner of an alley, Ava felt more peace than she had in her penthouse apartment. As the hours passed, she watched him work. His hands were steady. His eyes focused. And when he talked about engines, there was passion in his voice she hadn't heard in so long. He reminded her of something she had forgotten, simple joy. By evening, she was laughing. Really laughing. Grease on her cheek, a warm cup of tea in her hand, sitting on a metal stool beside a man who had no clue he was speaking to a woman who once had her face on magazine covers. When she finally stood to leave, Ethan handed her a folded paper towel. On it was a drawing. An engine with flowers growing out of it. "It's nothing," he said sheepishly. "Just something I doodled." She stared at it. "It's beautiful. I like making broken things run again." Her eyes met his, and her voice broke softly. "Me too." They didn't exchange numbers. No promises. No expectations. But as Ava walked away into the evening, the paper towel clutched in her hand, her heart beat differently. And she knew. This wasn't over. Backhand index pointing right, end of chapter 1. Chapter 2, 5,000 words, will continue this emotional journey, where Ethan finds out who she truly is, and how love blooms between someone who had everything and someone who only had kindness to give. Loudspeaker, if this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us create more emotional and inspiring stories like this one. Don't forget to share it with someone who needs a little hope today. Red Heart. Would you like me to continue with chapter 2 right away?